Chapter 3.2, the Middle Ages, Part 2. So we're going to get into icons here, and this is a Christ icon. He's not always this focus of an icon, but these are kind of small. It's like 3 feet by almost like a foot and a half. And we have some certain things that have happened. We've decided, now we're in the 6th century, we're in the years 500, in the 500s. We've decided that he's got long hair and a beard. Previously, he wasn't necessarily depicted in this way. So lots of things become sort of solidified that religious depictions are going to be a certain way. And this is one of those things that gets decided and he gets depicted this way, for the next 1400 years. There's a glowing gold sort of halo around him, showing his divinity. He's got his hand. This is a benediction, this hand gesture here. And these icons were thought to have a great deal of power and healing powers. And this goes on today. We still have retablos. We have a lot of things. But anyway, it becomes a controversial type of artwork. So one of the other things about this, though, is that he's divided down here, and on his right side, this is our left looking at him, but it's his right, he has a youthful appearance. It's a little hard to see. It's a bit subtle. But anyway, he is divine here where he would be part of, he would be godlike, where he wouldn't age. And on the other side, his left side, he's looking a little bit more wrinkled and human. And then he's holding the book of gospel, which would be what the humans will read. That's what they connect to. So showing his combined human and divine status in this piece. Another icon. Getting my icons and my idols mixed up. Another icon would be the Virgin Child surrounded by saints. Now, the reason that this still exists is because it was in the St. Catherine Monastery in Sinai, Egypt, and it was not destroyed in the purge of icons, which we're about to get into. But notice just quickly that the flattening here, everybody gets a bit flatter. There's some dimension in the face, but we've lost our proportions. The faces are elongated, the bodies are elongated. They don't really look like they're in real space anymore. The feet just kind of pop out and just point, and they're little kind of sausages. We've lost a lot of realism in the hands and the feet, everything. And the drapery is just kind of patterned. There's not any real sense of those folds, like we were looking at the some of the mosaics not mosaics, but frescoes in Greece. So it's just a real shift into abstraction. So the iconoclasts come along in the 8th and 9th century in the Byzantine Empire, and they destroy a lot of these icons. So iconoclasm literally means destruction of religious images. They go and they smash icons, which are these little paintings. There might be some other versions as well, but to my knowledge, it's just these funny little flat paintings from the Byzantine. But some of them are preserved, like I said, in Egypt, and nobody went out of their way, I suppose, to destroy those. But they got concerned that the second commandment, I think it is, worshiping idols was starting to happen because people were praying to these actual paintings, and the ones that do exist that were still in a church, they're rubbed on and touched and worn off. The paint's worn off. So that was the concern, and there was sort of a schism there, and they destroy them. The Church of San Vitale, it's octagonal plan church, fireworks, went off. And there's a lot of mosaic and detail in this church, an inlay of different stones. This is some jasper. I believe that's just sliced. But look at all those beautiful patterns. You start to see all this exploration of pattern. Then we're going to get into the mosaics that are in there. They reflect light. But there's a fair amount of light, natural light, coming into this church. But we're going to see a further expansion of that with the Gothic in a little bit. So there's mosaics in the apse. Okay, our apse is here. We were there, and it reflects the light. And we're going to see the Justinian across from Theodora and his attendants, which is this piece right here. So here is the Emperor Justinian right here in the middle, of course, because he's the most important figure. So we're going to put him central. I feel like these faces are so similar, like maybe one person stood in and modeled them all, and then the artist made just a couple quick changes. They're really strange. This is a glass mosaic, and partly what they were saying about reflecting the lights, some of the light would hit it and it would kind of glow a little bit. So Justinian is in his purple robes, showing that he's royal, and he's got some his religious leaders to one side, and I believe the military is over here. And it's a beautiful mosaic. It's incredible when you think about all those little tiny pieces making up this image. It's quite stunning. So there's another one across from him with him and Theodora, which we're not seeing here, but you can see some of this patterning happening. It's really beautiful. But again, look at how tiny the feet have gotten, absolutely tiny, long, elongated bodies. So they're outlined, they're flat, they lack volume, they appear to float. He's wearing his purple, holds his bread for the service, the religious service, and then he's got Maximanius, I don't know, and then that's his name above his head, in charge of commission, right here. So that puts us in charge. This is our important religious figure. He's our bishop. Okay, so manuscripts in the Middle Ages. So what's happening now is the monks and religious people in the monasteries, mostly just the monks, are the ones that are literate. The priests and bishops and so on, they're also literate and can read. Everybody else has gone into some dark, um, backward kind of ways where they don't read and write. So the only people that read and write are the monks, and they are copying the Bible and the Gospel by hand. So a monk would take a long time and just write it all out, and then he would also, some of them would decorate them. So you're going to see some detailed illuminated manuscripts, and these are very popular with a lot of people, but it's a whole lot of people and sometimes nuns. It's a very labor-intensive process, but it's considered a tribute to God. And that is not unlike many religions in the Far East as well. The more laborious, the more it is an honor or a labor toward God, if that makes sense. So this is a page from the Quran. So we're not just in Europe here, in the Middle East as well. There are these illuminated manuscripts. There's one type of script here, and there's another that's looser, this brown script, but very decorative and intertwined. And we're going to see that as well with the European version. So this is 13th century on vellum. It's a page from the Quran. An image of Allah is not shown, and then Arabic is right to left, so it's backward from, I would say, Western European writing. Also, right to left, I was going to say too, is Asian. They write things backward. So Kufic is that yellow script, that's the oldest script, and then everything else is Maghribi, and that's the regional script. Gold design signifies the beginning of a new chapter. Cross and carpet page. This is the Lindisfarne Gospels. Now this gets really elaborate. There's a lot of these illuminated manuscripts. The Huntington Library in Pasadena has a fair amount of these, and also the Getty both locations, I believe. You'd have to check, but they have a number of these illuminated manuscripts. So we have the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and of course, it's the Word of God. It's these are important things that people are going to look at. So you're going to spend a bunch of time decorating it. So this has a cross. This is called cross and carpet. So you can see this cross that comes through here, in the red, and then the carpet is the rest of the field. Okay, detail here. So a lot of times there are animals. A lot of animalistic designs happen at this time in Europe, mostly Northern Europe. Um, you'll see a lot of manuscripts and so on with sort of an animal head or a snake or something like that. This one's a bird-like figure. You can kind of see the wing or the body here and the head intertwined with some other sort of looping designs. This is somewhat similar to Celtic designs, but this one, scribed by the Bishop Eadfrith over 5 years. Holy crap, that's a long time. So this is a resemblance of stained glass in terms of the colors, but the idea that it's illuminated is kind of more like illustrated, if that makes sense. That's kind of a better word for it. This is the fifth vision of Hildegard of Bingen from 1230. She was a popular German nun that had visions. So this is depicted here, but you can see how stylized this has gotten, and like this chair has just gotten strange. I feel like the artwork gets stranger and stranger. So she advised kings and popes. She wrote a popular book. This was destroyed in World War II, the actual original copy of the book, but there are copies. So she receives a vision, and a scribe transcribes her vision over here. So this is kind of very typical. She's receiving the vision there, this sort of looking like a floodwater or waterfall, and then over here the scribe is writing it down. We see a similar sort of a way of working with the miniatures from the Mughal Empire. And this is the ascent of the Prophet Muhammad on his steed. So it's a beautiful piece, lots of detail, very, very small piece. It's not going to tell us right here how big it is, but it's probably less than the size of a piece of paper. And he has no face because you don't depict Muhammad. Later, we get away from depictions like this at all, really, but some of the stories from the Prophet Muhammad are shown, and his relatives. But just really beautiful decorative piece here. Lots of color. This is watercolor and gouache. Guided by the angel Gabriel, and the flames signify his holiness, and he rides a half-human horse, Buraq, toward the heavens. Let's see if we can take a closer look at that here, right there. Okay.